thousands of years ago, Taoist philosophers, while learning how the world works, would pay attention to the seasons and pay attention to people because we are part of nature. And somehow in the last couple of thousand years, we've seemed to decide that nature is something separate from us. Like there's us, the human race, and then there's nature. And when we somehow coexist together, but we're not the same thing.
Welcome to the world of energy, where science meets spirit. Ancient wisdom merges with cutting-edge knowledge, and the possibilities for a healthier, happier you are endless.
Hi, this is Blaine, and welcome to Energy Works. Today, I'm doing a solo episode. Lauren isn't with me today, and the intention is it to be a shorter episode, and I'm going to talk about food energetics. Food energetics is a topic that I have personally been studying probably about a year now. I discovered it really. By way of background, I've healed myself with food before. I started in my body having a lot of health problems. I won't get into all the details now, but significant health problems in 1988. And after seeing doctors and emergency room visits and specialists all the way from 1988 until 2009 with it not getting better. No doctors could help me. It was just stayed in there. I thought I would just die of it one day. I changed my diet and it went away. And so I've really understood the power of food and its impact on your health for a long time. And I dove into studying food in a certain way back then. And I'm a type of eater who's very conscientious about what I eat for many reasons. And then when I started studying energy medicine yoga almost 10 years ago and learned all about the 5 elements and dove into the study of the 5 elements, it's like these two fields of study for me did not cross. They were kind of two different things. For learning about the 5 elements and my own elemental imbalances in my body and health conditions, moods, pain, all kinds of things that I was working on with my body using energy medicine and energy medicine yoga techniques worked. And then I was also eating in the way that I really shifted my eating to in 2009. And then about a year ago, I was struggling a little bit with a health issue, and I was coming at it from the 5 element angle and was researching it. What element is out of balance? What energy medicine techniques can I do to help bring myself back into harmony to resolve this issue? And then it just hit me. I thought, food. What about the food that I am eating? And could that be contributing at all to this problem? And I thought there's got to be something about 5 elements and nutrition and food. And it's just nothing that I've stumbled across in my almost 10 years of studying the 5 elements. And so I started Googling and researching, and there's a whole field called food energetics where acupuncturists and Chinese medicine doctors and other health professionals and wellness professionals who work with Chinese medicine, of course, use food and herbs and spices and flavors and temperatures in order to balance the elements. So I immediately purchased my first course, and now I've taken a couple of more little ones, and I'm in a big one right now, and I have a lot of books, and I've met some teachers who specialize in this, and I am a little bit obsessed with food energetics. And so here on Energy Works, I will do some solo episodes about food energetics. The intention is for them to be bite-sized. I won't use too many food puns on you, hopefully, but shorter episodes where I take some aspects of food energetics and talk about them in hopefully a digestible way, again with the food pun, but we use them all the time. And then in further courses and writings and stuff that I do, I will, I guess the word would be like overlay this nutrition information I have with the other information I have about the 5 elements. And I'm starting to develop some recipes. I've done a lot of recipe development and cookbooks, cookbook development in my past, helping other authors with their cookbooks. I've never done my own cookbook. But I have created recipes that I've put in my courses, and some of you listening to this have probably taken courses with me and had some of my recipes. And so this is just a whole new thing for me. So I'm excited to talk to you about it. By way of introduction around the 5 elements, and if the 5 elements, if I'm going to talk about a couple of things here, but if you want to dive deep, today, upon recording this, it is March 2025. I think the recording will be posted and available for people in April 2025. But Lauren Walker and I did a whole 6-week series on the 5 elements from January through early March of 2025. And so if you hear me say things like metal and wood, and you want to know more about these elements, we have whole episodes, that audio and on YouTube, that you can listen more about this. So how these came about, how this whole 5-element theory came about is thousands of years ago, Taoist philosophers, while learning how the world works, would pay attention to the seasons and pay attention to people, because we are part of nature. And somehow in the last couple of thousand years, we've seemed to decide that nature is something separate from us. Like there's us, the human race, and then there's nature. And when we somehow coexist together, but we're not the same thing. But we are the same thing. And it was very known back then that we are nature. And so it was observed that often in autumn time, people had more skin issues and had more lung issues. And in autumn, it is getting drier and it is getting colder. And so they started to associate the lung issues, the respiratory issues, and the issues with skin and dryness and breakouts and lesions and things that would happen on people's skin with autumn. And autumn is a time also where our energy starts to decrease. We have a slowing down of energy. And as part of this slowing down of energy, we let things go, like the trees let their leaves go in the autumn. And it is normal when we let things go that we feel grief from having to let things go. And so also some digestive issues. You can think of going to the bathroom like letting go. It's large intestine. So large intestine and lung and skin and letting go and grief all became associated with autumn, because these kinds of health issues would arise more for people in the autumn than any other time of year. And then if you think about spring, conversely, if autumn is a time of decreasing energy, spring is a time of increasing energy. We feel energy. I'm using my hands if you're listening to me. My hands are going up and out and wide. We think of energy rising in the spring, which comes after winter. And so the 2 organs, our gallbladder and our liver, are associated with the level of chi in our body. And so the distribution, the movement of chi. And so if we have this rising of chi and our chi gets stuck, and you can think of getting stuck because of blockages, you can think of getting stuck because of too much toxins in the body, then we start to feel angry because we have this pent up chi that can't move. And so liver, gallbladder, detox, anger, from not being able to have this flow of chi that just wants to come out and get stuck and bottlenecked. It's like a traffic jam. We just feel, in this time sometimes if our chi isn't flowing really well in this time of increased chi. So all of this is in spring. And so what's happening outside is affecting what is happening inside of our bodies. And I say outside because in today's world in the West, most of us are indoors more. So like we're more indoors, but the seasons are happening outdoors, but they still very much affect us. These philosophers also noticed that sometimes this didn't just happen in autumn. In certain people, they had problems with their skin and their lungs and their large intestine all the time, not just in the autumn. And spring people had stuck energy and anger all the time, not just in the spring. And so these people so autumn is metal. So they were kind of metal people. They had these metal attributes all year long, and spring is wood. So we call it the primary element. They had these wood attributes all year long, not just in the spring, which would cause maybe some imbalances. And that's where we get into all the 5 elements and how they interact and how they become overactive and underactive and how they control one another. And it's very deep. But that's what this 5 element theory is. So food. There is food energetics in 5 element nutrition is a whole deep field of study where, like in energy medicine and energy medicine yoga, we do tapping and tracing and breath and yoga poses and working with our meridians and doing acupressure on our points and working with our neurovasculars and our aura and our radiant circuits and all of these things we do to balance our elements. You can also use food. So in other episodes and future writings that I do, I will share more about this, but I'm just going to talk about one little aspect today that I've been working on personally as I've been changing the way that I think about food and the food that I buy and the way that I cook it and when I cook it and how I cook it, based on what I've been learning is the temperature of food. I'm going to talk about the temperature of food. Temperature being, food that is warm versus food that is cold. And when I say warm and cold, I mean cold because we've refrigerated it or warm because we have cooked it. There are foods that have properties, right? Like spices and cinnamon are warm foods and cucumbers are cool foods, regardless if they're cooked or not cooked or whatever. Just primary attributes of some foods are either warming or cooling. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about literally refrigerated or frozen food or food that has been heated in an oven or on a stovetop or something like that. So in Chinese medicine, similar to Ayurveda, cold food is frowned upon, and raw food, like raw vegetables, are frowned upon. And since I said Ayurveda, I'll touch on that a little bit because there are similarities and there are differences. But the ancient philosophers who discovered and created Ayurveda did it by observing nature, just as it was done in Chinese medicine. Both disciplines come from observing nature. So, of course, there are overlaps, even though they are not exactly the same. I personally learned about, I'll just say the frowning upon of, say, ice water and colder foods from Ayurveda. And years ago, when I was studying Ayurveda, I got rid of ice water. I just, went to room temperature water all the time. And in a restaurant, I order water with no ice. And I did all of that long ago. But I'll say that I kind of stopped there. I didn't look at everything else that went into my mouth. And I've really been playing with this in my own diet, this having warmer food. Because in Chinese medicine, like I said, cold food, raw food is considered not good for us. And there are a few reasons for this. One of it is our digestive fire. They say it just like in Ayurveda. They say we have digestive fire. They also in Chinese medicine call it the cauldron, which I love that. We have this cauldron, which is our digestive system. And so when we dump cold things into the cauldron, we dim our digestive fire. And when we do that, we will not get as much nutrients from the food. It also takes a lot of energy because our body has to warm the food back up before it can start to digest it. So basically, the worst thing you can do is, go to the refrigerator and down a big glass of ice water. And then, you've really like cooled your cauldron. Your digestive fire is barely there. And then your body has to waste all this energy that is supposed to be happening, running all these other routines and processes in the body. They have to kind of just divert to getting the cauldron lit up again, to get the digestion back up. Digesting is one of the most important and most challenging things that our bodies does, and it takes a lot of energy for digestion. So when we dump ice and cold things and cold water and cold drinks in there, then it kind of causes haywire for our energy systems. It also affects our digestion. Digestion is not as easy, a raw carrot versus a cooked carrot. We get more nutrients and we have easier digestion from the cooked carrot. And it can be a lightly steamed carrot. It doesn't have to be, a cooked to death kind of carrot, but a lightly steamed carrot or a lightly steamed piece of broccoli versus a raw carrot or a raw piece of broccoli. You get more nutrition and easier digestion and easier, we'll say GI processing from the at least steamed or lightly cooked food than the raw food. And so I'm someone, I love salad. I eat salad almost every day. I love the crunch of my raw salads. And so I've been working thoughtfully about creating salads I still enjoy, but not having them be 100% raw. And what you can do and what I do is have a mix of warmed food and cold food. And I try to eat greens every day. And so I can kind of put I can put vegan chili on a bed of greens and eat it. I can eat almost anything on greens. But I've really been enjoying steaming my vegetables, maybe cooking up some pasta so it's warm, cooking some edamame, boiling some edamame, and putting these warmer vegetables and foods on also some of the more refrigerated temperature foods or greens or something like that. Maybe warm tofu on top of greens, something like that for me, because I am vegan. And so I still get my delicious salad, but I'm really starting to enjoy these more warmer elements. And so simmering, warming, toasting, poaching, stewing, anything like that to the food, you're going to eke more nutrition out of it and it's going to digest easier. It's going to be less taxing to your digestive system, which means you're going to have more energy. Because if your body isn't having to divert all this energy to your digestion, then you have more energy all around. There's also this concept, which I'll talk about more in the future, of dampness in the human body. So it's believed that these cold foods create dampness in the body. And what that means is you feel heavier. Think of like a damp towel. It's fluid retention, feeling heavy, limbs are heavy, weight gain, maybe even obesity, feeling sluggish, and not having very good quality sleep. And so the raw foods contribute to this dampness in the body and create these imbalances, creating the symptoms that I just shared with you. So that is my one thing for the first episode, solo episode with me. I hope you enjoyed it. If there are other aspects of the elemental nutrition, the food energetics in Chinese 5-element theory that you'd like me to talk about sooner rather than later, just drop them in the comments. I would love to hear. We don't have an exact schedule of when I'm going to do these shorter solo episodes. Lauren and I are going to continue having episodes together like we have all along. Lauren will have her Cool People, Big Ideas episodes where she works with guests. And then I'll also do these solo ones on nutrition and food energetics. So I would love to hear from you. Thank you for listening, and maybe enjoy a warm cup of tea or some warming food for your next meal. And I wish you easeful digestion and a wonderful rest of your day. Alrighty, energy fans, that's a wrap on another positively charged episode of Energy Works. Lauren, this is the part where we get to use our energy puns.
It's been electrifying, hasn't it, Blaine? We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have.
If you're feeling amped up and you want to keep your energy flowing, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform.
And we'd love to hear from you. So please take a moment to leave us a review. Your feedback helps us continue to deliver content that resonates. So light up our inbox.
And spark a conversation with your friends to tell them about us. And we'll see you next time on Energy Works.